Good evening, everybody. I love addressing the masses. Welcome to the Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regular Meeting for September the 4th, 2018. As a courtesy to all, please place your phones on silent or vibrate so that we don't get disturbed. This evening, we're going to begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, which is going to be led by Councilman Orshel Cryer, followed by the invocation from Cindy Brettschneider with the United Methodist Church. If you'll join us, please.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was just looking at your incorporation date, and the United Methodist Church was incorporated in April 2nd, 1910.
Well, we share a birthday
So
then.
yes. So that was really neat to see. Will you pray with me, please? Lord of us all, we thank you for this day and the many blessings we have already received. We thank the people with whom we have come in contact, our family, our friends, and even strangers. We thank you for the ability to use our minds to discern your will and to work to create a strong and healthy community. We thank you for this community and all who serve. We thank you for teachers. We thank you for those who protect us, for those who clean and repair, for those who work in parks and work on roads, for those who plan, and those who make those plans happen. We pray for those who heal and those who counsel, those who govern, and all those who elect. We thank you for the opportunity to be citizens of this beautiful community. We also pray for our community of people who are hungry, unemployed, seeking safety, those who are mentally ill, physically ill. We pray for those who live on the streets. For all these things, Lord, we lift up to you to hear our prayers. And as this meeting begins, I pray for each person here. Give each clarity of mind, creativity, compassion, and a sense of humor. Give them listening ears and thoughtful words and an open heart. And all God's people said, Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Cindy. All right, Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Knorr,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Here. Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Cryer.
Here.
And Councilmember Miller is absent.
All right. First item on the agenda, public hearing on cost and placement of lien on abated property. City Manager Jung.
Thank you, Mayor. The property located at 130 Lexington Avenue had a nuisance abatement. The owner of record has been notified by certified mail and posting at said property in accordance with the Taft City Municipal Code of the costs incurred during the abatement process. The owner was notified of the place and time of this public hearing, on which the cost of the council will hear any objections or protests from the property owner or any other interested parties.
All right. The recommendation is conduct a public hearing regarding the statement of expense. I will open that public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition or support of this issue, please come forward. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Second item is to entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving and confirming the cost for the abatement of the nuisance at 130 Lexington Avenue, Taft, California, APN number 032-182-07-00, in the amount of $342.48.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
None, just my usual disappointment that people don't take care of their property.
I would agree with that. Councilman Bryant.
No, sir.
Councilman Cryer.
I only wish that they have concerns, they should be here, explain what they're gonna do about it, and, or at least ask them questions they can do to, what their issues are. But otherwise, they're not here, they can't continue.
Well, the one thing about it is they were informed of the issues multiple times in order for us to get to this position.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
And they chose to ignore that. I've told many people, you can travel throughout Taft. You can go to the newest neighborhood, or you can go to the oldest neighborhood, or the most expensive or least expensive. And what's amazing is the properties in the least expensive, oldest neighborhoods where people just show pride of ownership. They stand out even more than they do in the new neighborhoods. I mean, just a little bit of pride, a little bit of neat, a little bit of paint goes a very, very long way. And think about your neighbors and think about your community and take pride in being a property owner in the city of Taft. It's not that difficult, and it goes a very long way. And then we don't have to spend the people's money to ensure the people's safety. It's unfortunate, but here we are. So I have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Noor.
Yes, that passed on a 4-0 vote. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is citizen request public comments. However, we don't have anybody wishing to address the council this evening. So we're going to move right along to item number 3, council statements, non-action. Councilman Cryer, I'll begin with you this evening.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that school started, and I'd like to warn everybody out there in TV land that when you're coming through Kern Street or any other streets close to the schools, watch out for the kids, because they're really busy on the phones, and they don't pay attention. We got to pay attention to them. Really careful, because it can be kind of nasty out there at times, especially when it comes winter time when it's foggy and the night comes early. Well, actually, early coming up late. But anyway, September 20th, the fort is going to have a fundraiser. It'll be an Okie dinner on the 20th, on a Thursday at 5 p.m. They're having chicken, fried chicken, and all the okra and all that nice stuff, and they're having music, and they're featuring Country George and the Western Edition will be playing that night, and I'd like to invite the community to come out there and show their support at the fort, and helps keeps the doors open. And I know there's the Chamber of Commerce got a few things coming up. They're at the golf tournament coming, and they also have fishing derby in November. So look up the dates on that and try to get your team together and your fishing rod ready and go out there and have some fun there for the family. It's a great opportunity to partake in our activities here in Taft. That's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the update. Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's almost disappointing more and more every day to live in the state of California. The only thing that really makes you enjoy it is being able to live it right here in Taft. Because Taft is the antithesis, apparently, of everything that California, especially legislatively, has come to stand for. As I was reading through a post that our Assemblyman Fong made last week about the end of the legislative session for this cycle. He talks predominantly about California's misplaced priorities, especially those that are exhibited in Sacramento. When it comes to legislation, when you ask for common sense, you get nothing but feedback and more idiocy, more cost, more red tape, and it just drives you mad. And it breaks your heart to sit up here and to continue to tell constituents what you're handcuffed by when all you want to do is continue to provide better and more and effective services. And so all that tells me is at the end of the day, we've got more work to do here on the home front to maintain what we've come to love. We've got to find ways to collaborate with the everyday citizen. I think we're doing a good job at that, but there's always room to improve. We've got to find ways to attack our problems. And I think, again, we're doing a very good job of that, but there's always room to improve. And I look forward to being a part of that for a long time to come, regardless of where things go with me up in this dais or not. As a member of this community for now and hopefully for the next 70 years, I'm going to be a part of that change for the positive. I look forward to that. But one thing, as Councilmember Cryer mentioned, we come back to school. It's always kind of a joyous time of the year. And it's nice to see all the kids back, see the vigor in the teachers' eyes and administrators being really happy. And a lot of times, those administrators hopefully will join our community by living here. But even those that don't, find ways to ingrain themselves in this community, which is nice. And
our superintendent there at the high school, Dr. Cavazos. She's a mother too, and like Councilman Crier mentioned, be careful when you're going around the schools, especially because you don't want to hurt somebody and take their child away. Unfortunately, and even though he's an adult, Dr. Cavazos lost her son in a freak accident last week. And so on behalf of the city of Taft, I hope you all will join me in extending condolences to her and our best wishes as a member of this community. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share an observation. As most of you know, I wrote an article for the Independent last week about the homeless after doing a ride-along. But I was observing the other day that there was a obviously rather scroungy-looking homeless person walking down Center Street, and a man was walking the other direction and just kind of saw through him and kept walking. But a couple seconds later, our favorite person in town, Danny, comes around the corner and he acknowledges him. Hey, Danny, how you doing? And I wondered what made Danny different than the other person. They both looked dirty and unkept. They both were probably spinning on some drugs. Both probably had some mental health issues. The difference is we all know Danny's name. We knew his name, and because we know his name, we feel something different. Now, I'm by no means soft on this. I just, is an observation that when you know somebody's name, you know where they're from, and you know who they are, and maybe part of their story, it gives you a little bit more caring and understanding for a situation that you can easily walk by and walk through and not care about. So the next time maybe you see somebody, you may not have to say hello, you may not even care, but you might just think about the fact that he is somebody's child, he is somebody's sister and somebody's brother. It's just something to think about. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That seems to be a great deal of discussion, and has been for quite some time, about the vagrancy issue, the homelessness issue, the drugs, the property thefts that go along with it. I just spoke with a friend of mine that went up to San Francisco not too long ago. This is somebody who truly enjoyed San Francisco for what it used to be. His disgust in every single word he spoke about his last trip was very, very evident. He said he will never go there again. The filth was unimaginable. He said he could not believe what that place had turned into. Just today, I was at work, and my wife called, and two of our grandchildren were staying with us, ages 2 and 4, and she wanted to get them out of the house, so she was going to take them right here to our park, Veterans Memorial Park right here, so they could play in the park. And she called me up, and she said there are 2 people out there that look a little questionable, but more importantly, they have 3 really big dogs, and 2 of them are running around, and they're not on leashes or anything, so she didn't feel comfortable taking the kids to the park. That is bothersome. I have a problem with that. And I said, well, you know what? I've got to come into town, so let me go by there. So I came into town, and I walked up to the 2 folks, and there were 3 dogs, 1 on a leash, 2 not, running around. The 1 on a leash was a pit bull kind of dog, and the 2 that weren't on leashes were German Shepherds. Big dog. One was a younger German Shepherd, and an older one. And I said hi to the folks, and told them who I was. I said, my name's Dave Knorr. I live here in the city of Taft. As a matter of fact, I happen to be the mayor of the city of Taft. And so you guys are enjoying the park. And the gal said, yeah, I try to come here and, sit in the shade and enjoy the cool grass. And the dog likes playing with it. And I said, I see that. As a matter of fact, I got a question, and I explained that my wife had called, and little kids wanted to come play, which was some 20 yards away from there. And the dogs weren't on a leash. And were they a safety concern? She said, well, my dog's in heat, and these are 2 male dogs, so they're pretty amped up, and the one is kind of a younger shepherd, and when he gets to playing, he actually bites, because that's what young dogs do. And she said, but they're not my dogs. Those 2 are not mine. The one on a leash is mine. Those 2 are not mine. And I said, well, I'm going to call my wife and have her bring the grandsons, and they're going to play right over here. I certainly don't want to have a problem. I said, if you don't know whose dogs these are, I'll have animal control come get them. And she and her male counterpart never said a word, and he was quite dirty. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and call him and have him come play. So I stayed there, and the guy got up and he smoked it out of there. After I told him who I was and the fact that if we had to call animal control, we would, he disappeared. And I'm quite certain I know why. But anyway, the gal stayed, and the kids came, And then I left. I was comfortable with what was going on, and the lady took her dog by the leash and got further away from the playground. And it just so happened when I was leaving, I saw the animal control officer. And I thought it was fortuitous, so I stopped and I said, look, I just want to tell you what's going on. And she said, well, there's an ordinance. You can't have dogs just running amok, even if they happen to have a collar and a tag. So she said, I'm going to go pick them up. And that way I can get a hold of their owners. So she did. She went and picked them up. And then my wife called, and she felt so bad. She said, oh, my gosh, animal control came and took 2 of those ladies' dogs, and there were police there. And I said, well, let me tell you what happened. Those dogs don't belong to that lady. I said, did she keep the one on a leash? Yes, she did. I said, okay, that's her dog. And my wife felt so compelled that she went and she bought her a soda and came back and as a peace offering gave the lady a soda. And the lady said, oh, no, I don't have a problem. And she said, matter of fact, that was probably one of the nicest guys I've talked to in a long time. He was very polite. The fact remains that when she got there, for the sake of the kids, she was not comfortable in using the park, and there was nobody else in the park, so she's going to leave and go back to the house. People need to be cognizant of the law and of our ordinances and of other people's safety, and they need to be considerate. Those dogs belong to somebody, but the gal that I talked to said it wasn't the first time they were there running amok, and she had seen them. So I don't know who owned the dogs. But that lady then disappeared as well. And she was a homeless individual. She was pleasant. I don't know her story. The guy didn't stick around. As soon as he thought the authorities were going to come, I believe that he thought he'd be best somewhere else. I don't know everybody's story. You know what I do know? I do know in the city of Taft, we have talked about this. As throughout California, we've talked about this very issue many, many times. We filled this chamber with concerned citizens, with people who headed up churches, with people who talked with these individuals. We had a study session. We brought professionals from Bakersfield, from the mission, people who were reformed. That man stood right there. I remember him saying that, I said, I think we have 35 or 40 people, and he would come over twice a week. This is his job. And I said, how many do you think you could actually get into that man after 17 conversations? And that would go all the way. And he said, perhaps 2. Maybe 2. The rest of them, they like their life. They like what they're doing. They like how they live. They like their freedoms. And that is the reality. They take advantage of every program out there and use it to their benefit. And I have spoken with others as well. So this problem won't go away in any hurry. As a matter of fact, Prop 57 is fixing to kick in. There'll be a great many felons that will be released early from the prisons. Convicted felons, they'll be on the street too. And then there's the no bail issue coming up. So those that are facing court, even in the past, who would have had to post bail, now they won't have to post bail. So they'll still be out. Everything the state of California is doing at this point in time is going to exacerbate the current conditions. It is going to get worse. They're going to be more aggressive. There's going to be more drugs, more crimes against property, more recidivism, and it's coming from Sacramento. It's not coming from this dice. It's not coming from the city PD. They are just as frustrated as all of us. So we'll talk about this some more. I know we will. This issue is not going to go away. But I do truly believe for everyone that there is a possibility that just might be able to get out of that rut. Here in our small city, in the west side, there's 20 that enjoy it and want to keep living it the way they do. There really is. So, that's my statement. All right, next up, department reports. Do we have any department reports this evening? Chief of Police Damon McMinn is going to address us.
I feel unsatisfied with Randy not being here today. Go forth.
We're glad you're back and welcome, Chief.
Thank you. My name is Damon McMinn. Of course, I'm the Chief of Police here in Taft, and pleasure to address the council. I'm going to bring a little information as far as our dealings with the homeless and the transient population we have here in Taft. We all know about Prop 47. I'm not going to go in depth on those. That definitely didn't help the situation. California, we're listed #1 for homeless and transient individuals for the last 5 years, and probably continue to lead that down that path. It's unfortunate. But with the Prop 47, with the drug misdemeanors, where you could get somebody for possession and actually get them help, you can no longer do that. It's just a misdemeanor, and we have to release them, give them a citation, take them to our jail, and slowly and shortly thereafter release them. Same thing with the thefts. The thefts, if they're not $950, they're a misdemeanor. So there you go with the citation and release shortly thereafter. So it's really nothing that's helping our process here in the state of California. It's unfortunate. Also, 50% of the suspects 50% of the subjects that we encounter on the street, at least the transient and homeless individuals, are mentally ill or have mental health issues. And unfortunately for TAP, we don't have the facilities here. Those facilities are in Kern County and over in Bakersfield. And it's kind of tough for us. We have to reach out to them quite often. And as the mayor said, we did bring in people from Kern Health. And that was a great opportunity to meet some wonderful people. And you know what? They do a wonderful service. They come out here and they actually interact with our homeless and transient. And they say it's up to 17 to 25 contacts before they can actually get somebody to step aside, step out of their comfort zone, and maybe make a trip into Bakersfield where they get some actual help. And if you think about those numbers, especially when they only come out every other week, it's a slow process and long time coming. Of course, AB 109 realignment caused a lot of issues too. We're having some other issues coming up shortly that the mayor just spoke about. And it's nothing that's helping the state of California. And I'm not going to just browbeat that because everybody understands it. It's just where we are. Right now, the homeless issue, of course, we know it's not caused by the PD and it's not going to be cured completely by the PD. We're going to do our part with what we can. And we have, we've talked to other cities, bigger cities, Santa Barbara, Ventura, who have ordinances that help them with the vagrancy and the panhandling. But, bringing more ordinances might not always be the answer. I mean, we have a lot here, and they're deserved, and we could piggyback off some of them that will actually help us out. But some of the ordinances that they have is like aggressive panhandling. I don't think that people understand panhandling itself is not against the law. It's aggressive panhandling. It's their God-given right in the state of California to panhandle if they choose to do so, to ask for money. It's not a crime. But if they get aggressive to a nature to where they're blocking somebody's access egress, if they're asking more than once, if somebody feels in fear when they're coming to them and cornering them, then that's aggressiveness. And then we will take our stand at that point in time. And we also have to have a victim. And you got to understand that we don't have victims right now. My officers show up and they'll say, well, we saw him panhandling. Okay, to who? With who? Who was this regarding? And we don't get much assistance in that area, so it is tough on us. And we can ask people to leave and move on, and we do quite often. We think we've taken care of the rec center issue out front. You notice they were hanging out on the grass out front for quite some time. Well, we've discussed it with them, and we did sit and talk with the individuals that sat out there and said, look, would you as a young parent want your family members to come and drive? There's a preschool right here, and drop your young children off with you guys sitting out front? And they actually answered, no, we probably wouldn't. So we told them this is an extension of this area, and we'd ask you to leave. And you know what? They did. So we got some cooperation from them to just sit and talk with them for a few minutes, and it worked. I've got a Sergeant Corey Bilby who's doing an excellent job. He actually went out and produced these cards, and it's just on his own, and he's giving them out. And it's homeless resources available to Kern County. And it's great thing on Corey's part. It's got the mission of Kern County, the phone number, Flood Ministries, Teen Challenge, Kern County Homeless Collaboration, Drug and Alcohol Addiction Helpline or Hotline, the numbers, Alpha House Domestic Violence Shelters, Need Centers, Westside Community Resource Center, the numbers, Need Centers, Westside Community Resource Center, and any number that that we can get him offer him some help, as you were speaking about earlier, Renee. And we're trying. We've got an ad hoc committee that's coming up shortly that we're implementing, and we're going to get 2 council members hopefully on board, and it's going to be myself and Corey Bilby, and we're going to working with Yvette. Thank you very much. And we're going to get that started, and we're going to start making some strides towards helping them out, like to a degree, and get them into the right, areas that they need help. We do know that they're the individuals that we see in the trash cans and whatnot, and no one likes it because they go out there and there's a mess. When we get called, unfortunately, if we don't actually see them doing something in that trash can, and they just stand there and they look at us. Of course, we're asking them to shoot. So to move on down the road. Unfortunately, I was looking at the numbers and I pulled it up today. 75 to 80% of our calls for service for homeless and transient are non-criminal. And 75% of that 20% that's left over are non-enforceable, meaning no one is going to be a victim, no one saw the crime actually occur. So with the others, we're hoping for someone to step forward, or actually we see themselves where we can actually take law enforcement action. It's a sad state of affairs. I've driven around here, and we've actually numbered it down to 35 homeless, or individuals that actually, I wouldn't say that all of them are homeless, because they do have connections to Taft, speaking with them and getting their names and their date of birth and where they're from. And you'd be surprised, probably 90+% of them actually at one point have some kind of connection to Taft. Whether it be a family member that lived here at one time, they lived here at one time, they were born here, raised here, whatever it be, or they have some kind of type of income here, because we do have good people here. You gotta understand, City of Taft has got some of the best people ever. And I mean, if they walk up and ask 5 people for money and one gives them $5, they're there. They're happy. And you look at that in 2 different ways. Yes, you're enabling them to a degree. It's not really a hand up, it's a handout. They're not, they'll go and do whatever they do with it, and they're at that situation where they really don't want help again. If you catch them in that lull where they're alcohol induced or narcotics induced, they don't want help. They're very happy where they're at. And it's an unfortunate situation, and we're living it right now. And unfortunately, Taft's got the same problem that every other city's had or has. Hopefully, with our ad hoc committee and our mental health, and we are working with something called VMET, which is basically a laptop that is provided to us by mental health, Kern County Mental Health, and we can actually carry it around in our units, or we're going to have it at our facility. And when you meet somebody that's in distress and needs mental help, we don't actually transport them right away, because it's tough to do so. So often we will bring that computer to them, and it's a HIPAA. It stops the HIPAA violation. We hand it to them. They interact with a physician or a mental health worker on the interaction of the computer. Everything is taken care of right there. Then once they've talked for a while and on their own, they request to speak to the officer. We come back and get the laptop, and then we start speaking to the mental health officer, and they basically tell us, okay, we've made an appointment at such and such a time. This individual needs to go right now, or this individual's fine and doesn't have any issues that are life-threatening to a citizen or themselves. Basically takes the onus off the city and takes the onus off the PD. And that's what we're looking for. Because you don't want to put somebody back in the civilian population that's going to hurt somebody later on or be an issue later on. So that's what we've got working on right now. And I've actually sent my lieutenant to the last virtual meeting, and we're going to start instruction and training on that as soon as we get the okay, and they're going to provide us with the laptops, of course. So that's where we're sitting right now. And hopefully things improve. And hey, I'm open to suggestions. I mean, you have to be. You have to roll with the punches and figure things out on your own. And with help from others, it's beneficial. It's beneficial to my department, just like it is to the council. And anytime you have an idea or you feel something might be worthwhile traveling down the road, I'm all ears. Definitely call me and let me know, and we'll touch bases and we'll figure something out.
All right, very good.
Thanks, sir.
I had not heard about the immediate video feed right now, remote psychologist type stuff. So that's good to hear, because what we do know, and we talked about earlier, is that we don't have the facilities. We don't have the experts.
That's a big issue.
We, as a community, we as taxpayers fund all those things.
Yes, sir.
Our money gets funneled into those programs, but in order to get people into those programs, they've got to go where they are. We do not have them here. So it sounds to me like you and your crew, you and your department, and especially some officers, are working very, very hard to make that happen.
He
God
snuck
bless
in
you,
on me.
Corey.
I was actually going to bring Corey up here and let him speak for a bit. Corey's a very intelligent man, and he's got a big heart for this, and he's actually working hard in this area right now. And he's got things going on that I think are going to prosper for us and help us to, it's not just eliminate, it's the fact that you want to get them help, like you were speaking earlier. Know their name, know who they are, and get them in areas where we can make them a part of society again. Because they're human beings no matter how you look at it, and we actually want them to prosper at Taft, help us out. Put them back to work, whatever we can do, get them the mental health they need. If they need some assistance, provide it to them. And like the mayor said, we pay for it. It's coming out of our taxes. And hopefully that with the VMET situation that we've got going on, it was in its baby stages when I left Kern County, but it seems to be doing well, and it's in the outlying areas of Mojave and Boron in those areas, and Kern Valley. And I would like to have it here in Taft and see if we can, because it's really tough to get the mental health workers in Bakersfield. If you call them during our hours of needs, to say, they just kind of, it seems like no one really wants to make that 45, 50-minute drive out to Taft to deal with it. So we're hoping this is going to be something that's going to remedy that situation.
Use technology, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I got to believe that there's some questions up here. So
Sure.
I'll
Absolutely.
start with Mayor Pro Tem Hill. You have any comments?
Thank you. I mean, that's very good. Like you said before, the psychology aspect of that is probably the thing that we need the most, because most of these people do have mental illness.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're going to eat out of a garbage can, you just can't be looking at things normal. I'm sorry. I witnessed that. That was a little much for me. But I think that will probably help if we can have some aspects of that help. So that's great. I'm really glad we're going to. When does all that start, where we're going to get computers and really get to
Well,
start doing that?
it's in the baby stages. Actually, we've been speaking with them. We just sent Peter Randa last week to the training, and they basically explained it to us and how it would work. And now they have to see the operating cost of getting a computer, and it's not on us. It's our tax dollars at work, and they continue to buy them and purchase them, and then where the need is most dire is where they send them. So where Taft ranks, I really couldn't tell you, but I hope that we're in there soon.
All right, pretty good. Councilman Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief and Sergeant Billy, thank you guys very much for taking this up. You obviously know, living here, that this is a hot button issue locally.
Sure.
And what I do appreciate more than anything is the communication back to us and to the folks who ultimately are here in attendance and the folks that watch this. We know the communication is mission critical. So making those contacts obviously is the only way to get those folks to water, right?
Absolutely.
You might have to lead them there 17, 18 times but to get one to do it. But if you get one to do it, that's better than we started with.
Absolutely.
But I think it's also critical that we communicate back to the constituents here and let them know what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, all they're going to see is those negative issues, right? What they think we're not doing, when in fact we know what we are. So I would ask if the council would concur that we get some type of update along these lines.
Sure.
Once a month. It doesn't have to be very, broad, but hey, how many contacts did we make? How many recurring were those? How many times have we seen the same person? Would be nice.
I know the individual that
You guys
contact.
would find context, right? Because I think that's important. Because at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
we know what you guys are doing out there. We understand, at least I do, and I know these folks do too, what our restrictions are. But just making those contacts and being visible is going to be a huge deterrent to the negative side of that. And once they realize we're there not just to put a boot in their butt, but to also put a meal in their face or get them services if they need it, they'll trust. And we know that that's the biggest stumbling block to getting them to accept services, is that level of trust.
The biggest.
So I would appreciate if we could get some type of update along those lines.
Sure.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Corey Bilby for what you've been doing. I heard a lot about from other people what you've been out there in the field, and your officers. You guys are doing a really good job what you guys are doing, especially Chief. Thank you for what you're doing too. Homelessness is a very complicated issue. There's so many things intertwined with it. Everybody's been touched by the homelessness, have family members or relatives, and sometimes unfortunate in life things happen to people, and there's a story behind everything, and
Absolutely.
it's really hard, and it's going to be a challenge, and what you're doing is I commend you, and we'll keep going forward with what you're doing and with your officers and stuff, and it's very appreciative, and if there's anything we do as a council, we're here, we can do to help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Chief, thank you very much, sir. Sure appreciate it. I didn't know
Absolutely.
if you wanted to bring Officer Bilby up here to speak, or
I don't want to torture Corey. He has done a lot for us, and he continues to do a lot for him. I'm very impressed with him and his contacts, like you said, and we talked about earlier. It's the 17 to 25 contacts, and Corey's out doing it. He's, to the old adage, beating the streets every night. I mean, he's one of my best working sergeants. He's out there, and he's making contacts, and he gets a hold of these people, and he understands where they're at. He knows them by name. He knows when, certain little individual things happen, who to go to, who we need to contact, and it takes a lot to get that done. With individuals that aren't always as pleasant. We actually dealt with somebody with Albertsons Market. We had that dealings with that Mr. individual, and with the manager of Albertsons. We actually arrested somebody 2 nights ago back there. Possession, Sergeant Buford arrested him, possession, and doing the same thing, trying to get into those locked bins, trash bins back there.
I had an issue, this has been a couple of weeks ago. I was at a local business establishment Saturday morning having a cup of coffee, and a well-known young lady came in. She has a propensity to walk around with her pants down well below
We know.
her waist. And she just came in, walked past everybody, and her hair was like this big, like she'd been sleeping in the stalls for a long time. And she went straight to the coffee, got a giant drink cup, like a 44-ounce cup, put it about half full of coffee, and then just started dumping it full of sugar and cream, and then walked right out the back door. And so the gal working there, I said, you know, she just stole from you. And so she went to stop her, and then the gal started getting irate. So I went out there, and I said, look, do you have money to pay for that? Oh, I've got money elsewhere. I'm going to get money. And I said, fine then. And I took the cup. I said, this cup will be waiting for you. You've got it all made up. It'll be waiting, and she'll tell you what it costs. And at that moment, that gal freaked out and screaming and cussing, then beating on the windows to a point where I thought she was going to break the windows, which she would have lacerated her wrists and done all kinds of damage. Finally, I called, and the PD responded. They knew very well who she was and where she was headed, but she went absolutely bananas. She was a danger to herself and others at that point in time, all over a cup of coffee and a whole bunch of sweet and low and cream.
We understand where mental health steps in at that point in time, and we have those issues. So,
All righty, well, thank you very much for that update.
Very welcome.
And we'll look forward to hearing about any new technologies that you can deploy so that we can try to solve the solvable portion of this problem that does indeed exist. Thank your whole team. Thank you very much.
thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jude. Any other department reports this evening? Seeing none. City manager statement. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no statements.
All right. City attorney's statements. Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No statement.
No statement. All right. Future agenda requests. Any future agenda requests this evening?
I do have one. Thank you. I would like to request a resolution in the support of the oil and gas industry in California be placed on the next city council agenda. I'm sure you have read and seen a number of city mayors and elected officials, school board members, signed a letter to Governor Jerry Brown asking that he ban all oil and gas production in the state of California, switch to all renewable resources, provide California with the energy resources it needs. The residents of California are being lied to and misled about the importance of the oil and gas industry in California and how critical it is to our economy and a way of life. The Sierra Club and over 150 elected officials in the state have pledged in support of the banning of all oil and gas production in our Golden State. As elected officials, we must do all we can to educate and inform the people of Taft and California that fossil fuels are the bedrock of our way of life, providing Californians with countless resources from oil production used in our making of clothes, shoes, electronics, cars, homes, and other necessities that contribute to our high standards of living and quality of life. Thank you, Mayor. And I have something for each one of you for the resolution, working with. Excuse me.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And for kids for. So I can get concurrence.
I would concur, absolutely. I'd like to review the proposed draft here, but I would like to have a draft resolution along with Councilman Cryer's request.
Okay. Pending the final draft of the resolution, you will second the motion.
Yes, sir. Thank
I'll
you.
have that next time.
Okay. Well, it takes some time to go through this process,
Right.
but indeed, it would appear that you've got concurrence on the matter, so it can be placed on the agenda.
Okay.
All right. Very good then. All right. Any other? Hearing none. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Councilman. All right, next up is consent calendar, items 8 through 14. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the City Council requests specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none, those items are item number 8, the minutes for the August 21st, 2018 regular meeting. Item number 9, payment of bills, about $830,000 worth. Item number 10, memorandum of agreement between Kern Council of Government, Kern COG, and the City of Taft for portable changeable message sign. Recommendation there is to execute a memorandum of agreement between Kern COG, acting as the Kern Motorist Aid Authority, and the City of Taft for portable changeable message sign and receive the sign. Excuse me. Item number 11 is a memorandum of understanding with Habitat for Humanity Golden Empire for the sale and rehabilitation of 308 Church Street. The recommendation there is a motion to adopt a resolution, entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft authorizing the sale of property located at 308 Church Street in Taft, California, to Habitat for Humanity Golden Empire, authorizing entering into a memorandum of understanding for said sale and renovation, and authorizing the mayor, city manager, and or assistant city manager to execute all escrow and other documents necessary to complete the sale of real property and making certain findings in connection therewith. Item number 12 is authorizing participation in the PARS Post-Employment Benefits Trust Program. Motion there is to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving the adoption of the Public Agency's Post-Employment Benefits Trust administered by Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS. Item 13 is administrative policy for council commendations, proclamations, and certificates. Recommendation is a motion to adopt the updated Administrative Policy 120, council commendations, proclamations, and certificates. And finally, item 14 is an emergency roof repair of the Taft Police Department facility. Recommendation is a motion to accept the bid from Superior Roofing in the amount of $81,372.50 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Does any council member wish to remove any of these items from the consent calendar? I wish to remove item number 12 from the consent calendar, please. Therefore, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14.
Oh, second.
A motion is second, and we have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Nor.
Yes, now that is approved on a 4-0 vote. Thank you very much. All right, item number 12, authorizing participation in the PARS Post-Employment Benefits Trust Program. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. In 2012, the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASP, issued Statement Number 68, Accounting and Financial Reporting for Pensions. GAP 68 requires that governmental employers that sponsor defined benefits plans, i.e. CalPERS, must recognize a net pension liability, unfunded accrued liability on their balance sheet. This is the difference between the city's total pension liability and actual plan assets. GAP 68 will become effective for fiscal year starting after June 15, 2014. To reduce the GAP's 68 net pension liability figure, the city's only prior option was to commit additional funds to CalPERS in excess of its annual required contributions to reduce its unfunded liability. However, a recent private letter ruling received by PARS from the IRS established the city could create a separate trust to pre-fund its CalPERS unfunded liability. This would provide the city with an alternative to sending funds to CalPERS that will allow for greater local control over assets, investments by a professional fund management team selected and monitored by the city, with future excess contributions transferred to CalPERS at the city's discretion. To date, 165 public agencies have adopted the Pension Rate Stabilization Program through PARS. Expected benefits offered by PARS include contributions placed in exclusive benefit trust could address the city's net pension liability, investment flexibility with Section 115 trust compared to restrictions on general fund investments, increased risk diversification of plan assets through different asset management. Investments can be tailored to the city's unique demographics, oversight and control of fund management selection, monitoring and performance, and ability to replace fund management based on performance criteria. Increased flexibility on the use of trust access. Examples, trust assets can be accessed at any time as long as the assets are used to fund the city's pension obligations and defray reasonable expenses associated within. Lower investment management administrative expenses compared to CalPERS and potential for long rating agency and investor consideration. In an effort to help public agencies address and manage their GAP 68 liability, PARS has developed the PARS Post-Employment Benefit Trust Program. PARS has assembled leading professionals to provide the city with necessary services required under their one program to pre-fund pensions and retiree health care liabilities through an IRS reviewed program. The program has been established as multiple employers trusts so that public agencies, regardless of size, can join the program to receive the necessary economies of scale to keep the administrative fees low and avoid setup cost. To properly offset liabilities, funds must be set aside in exclusive benefit, irrevocable trust that cannot be accessed by creditors in order to account for assets to fund liability on the city's financial statements. The trust permits the city under federal and state law to invest in a more diversified array of investments to maximize investment returns long-term and reduce the city's liability. PARS has partnered with U.S. Bank to serve as a trustee and its sub-advisor Highmark Capital Management Incorporated to provide investment management services for the program.
Well, now that was a staff report, wasn't it? Not, okay. That was rather long. Okay, the recommended action is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving the adoption of the Public Agencies Post-Employment Benefits Trust administered by Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS."
True.
I'll make the motion.
I wasn't sure you were ready for a motion. Yes, motion.
You got a second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, which is necessary in order to be able to discuss it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. If you all will allow me, I'd be happy to discuss this further. Sure. It is no secret to any of us that the unfunded liability in CalPERS is growing exponentially. Just as a snapshot, I'll tell you with the City of Taft. In 2009, we wrote a check at the beginning of the year for $30,555 and sent to CalPERS for a payment on our unfunded liability. Fast forward to 2017, that same payment went from $30,550 to over $417,000. Fast forward from 2017 to 2024, and the anticipated payment, and that is assuming still a 7% rate of return, is going to be $1.12 million. 30,500, 417, 1.12 million. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is a substantial increase. Completely unsustainable. Now, one of the things that we in the City of Taft have done is we have been working very hard with a dedicated, responsible staff to live within our means and do everything we can to bring additional income into the City of Taft. We have put some money away. Because of the way government works and current investment criteria, we have been able to earn about 1.4% on the average. I'm looking at Teresa Binkley in the background. She knows everything about every nickel in the City of Taft. About 1.4% rate of return on our investments. Is that a reasonable number? Okay. If she says yes, then I feel good about making the statement. But that is about all we've been able to earn, about 1.4%. What PARS does is allows us to invest in different portfolios where there are managed portfolios, and we as a city establish our risk. Much like any other investing, you can be very, very conservative, and the most conservative, they have been earning about 3.5 to 4 times what we've been able to earn. 4 times. As you get further up the risk scale, the investment return continues to grow and grow and grow. Now, we had a real nice lady come and talk to us about PARS and their program and give us a great deal of information. What I did today was I sat down and I called different cities that are in this program and are listed by this company as customers, as being involved in this. And I called multiple cities and I spoke with human resources types. I didn't get to a single mayor, but maybe they weren't sure I was a mayor, for heaven's sakes. But I tell you what, I did talk with the human resource manager out of Palmdale, and this outfit, PARS, is not just some Johnny-come-lately. In Palmdale, they have used PARS for their alternative retirement system, their ARS for their part-time employees, and they have used them for over 20 years. And they said they like them a lot. They've been using them for 20 years. They must like them somewhat. They're very responsive. They're very open. They respond to questions. And I had a really great conversation with that human resources manager. And he was sold on them. They did not participate in the portion of it that we are looking at participating in. However, I called and I spoke with the assistant city manager, the deputy city manager in Lodi. And I like to believe I've got a pretty good handle on what's going on in PERS, having studied it in depth for some 14 years. This fellow, his name was Andrew, was equally well informed. I'm here to tell you. We had a great conversation. Lasted about 30, 40 minutes. And they too not only use PARS for their ARS for their part-time employees, but they have been making monthly contributions for some time. They passed resolution in October of 2016 to set this up, much like what we can do this evening. You can set it up without any fees, and that doesn't mean that you have to put money in it tomorrow. Just getting it set up so that it is there when you are ready to put that money in is an easy step, and it costs nothing. They set theirs up in October of 2016. They started funding it in March of 2017. And the rate of return on their investments has exceeded the rate of return from CalPERS in their portfolio, which is more than the Dow and is about 6 times what we're earning right now. And this is what they've been doing. They said that they've been great to work with. They've been very transparent. They assign people to you, and you get to work with those same people. And they're very responsive to questions and glowing reports. And as I talked with Andrew, like I say, he truly understands the issues facing all of us with PERS. They are trying to take a very proactive approach. How can they make their money work for them so that they have more control over the destiny of the pension system within their municipality? That is what they are doing. And they're doing a good job of it. So beyond what we heard from Jennifer when we met with Jennifer of PARS, I did indeed reach out to multiple cities and talk to them. They're a part of this. Every one of them that I reached out to, yes, is a part of it, and never got a negative word about it. So I myself, having looked into it and having looked into the issues facing us, truly believe this is one of several things that we can do. When I spoke with our counterparts in Bakersfield, one of the things that we're fortunate enough to have the capability to do is write that debt service check at the beginning of each year in its entirety, which saves us interest about 3.55% instead of making payments over the course of the year. They can't do that over there. They don't have that cash flow option. We do, and we have been doing it, and Teresa and her group have been doing it. So we're saving those funds. We're saving that 3.5%. And we're only, like I say, able to get about 1.2 to 1.4% a return on our investment right now. So we're saving 3 times what we can earn. But at the same time, if we're only earning 1.2, 1.4, the state of California is charging us what was 7.5%. Currently, it's going to be 7%. So they're charging us 5 times as much as we can possibly earn. Well, we want to remedy that. We want to put our money to work for us, to at least offset that cost. But at the same time, by having it in PARS, it is safeguarded from the potential for a complete failure of the PERS system. All right. So in other words, if you try to prepay, which we looked at doing for the unfunded liability we had in the fire department, even though we no longer have a fire department, we still own the pension unfunded liability, which CalPERS told us was $864,000 at the time we were going to pay it off. Well, we had that money. We had $2.5 million per year. So we said, okay, fine. Let's write the check. We'll pay off the $864,000 debt. We'll save the 7.5%, and then we'll repay that $2.5 million fund. When Teresa, at that time, that was before the 2012, 2014, when they had to publish their unfunded liability. When Teresa reached out to them, it took them 6 months to get back to her. At the end of those 6 months, they said, look, love to have the check for the $864,000, and even though we told you that's what it was, if you pay us off, then we can't come back to you. We're not going to give you credit for 7% or 7.5%. We're going to give you credit for government bonds. So in other words, to make that mortgage payment, which we told you was $864,000, it was going to be about $6.8 million. Is that correct, Teresa? $6.8 million. They tell you, yes, your unfunded liability is $864. We're comfortable with the returns. Okay, fine, we'll pay you off. Well, no, now it's $6.8 million. So we've all talked about this. I don't mean to beat a dead horse. This is a program, a proven program, that allows us to invest our funds to better mirror the costs that we're paying, plus allows us local control. And we can access those funds as long as those funds are used to pay our debt to CalPERS. So if you have to get to that money, then what you can do is pay the debt that ongoing debt we have to pay CalPERS anyway out of this PARS fund and leave what you would have used to pay in the general fund, which means those funds are available for whatever emergency came up. So even though it's here earning interest, as long as it's used to fund CalPERS funds and debt, then it frees up general fund money if you get into that bind. Teresa, is that correct? Perhaps I should have had her step up here instead of continuing to look back. She doesn't want to step up here. But anyway, I believe this is a great program. There are many, many municipalities, cities and towns, special districts, education districts, and counties. They're taking advantage of this very same program. We're not the first ones, but I truly believe it is one of the things that we can do to help manage the problem that we did not create, nor did our employees create. This was created starting with Gray Davis when he offered up something that didn't exist. All right, so it's one more step along with those steps that we're already taking that we can take to help ensure the integrity of the retirement for our employees. So I'll stop talking now, and I will open it up to anybody else.
Sounds like PERS should hire PARS.
Amen to that.
You see a downside to this?
Councilman Bryant, anything beyond what I've talked about?
No, at the end of the day, obviously the biggest looming concern, question mark, and raising liability and expense for the city is going to be pension changes. Pension costs, and they continue to rise. And finding ways to mitigate the impact on the fund year to year and on fund reserves, as well as on employees and thereby taxpayers, is finding ways to make more money on the money we're investing anyway. So if we can triple our returns and going from even 1.5 to 4.5, that's huge dollars. And if we can go beyond that, fantastic. We can find ways to make better use of the people's money. If we don't do it, then we're shooting ourselves in the foot and doing a disservice to the taxpayers.
Do you see any downside?
Is there a downside? With any investment, there is risk. After all, look at CalPERS investment history. The lower the risk, the lower the return. Now we have historical returns from here, and they have the conservative, the moderately conservative, the moderate, the balanced, and the capital appreciation. So as you go higher up the I want to earn more money, then you assume more risk. These are actively managed portfolios. Excuse me. So you have people looking at them day in and day out every day.
Examples too of what happened when the economy crashed in 2007 and how
That's right.
the investments went down and came back.
There are in-depth examples and analysis in the back of this, along with what happened in the stock market, what happened to PERS, whether it's the S&P, the Dow. It's all here, and it's all quite graphic and gives you an idea not only of what happened when stock market crashed in 2008, what different portfolios, how they reacted, and how they turned around and what they earned on the turnaround side. So all of that information is here and available to be studied not only by the City Council and the Finance Committee, but by the City Manager and the Finance Department in depth. So here's what I see. Now we've got a motion and a second on the table at this point in time. What we can do is we can go ahead and pass the resolution to initiate our relationship as soon as we possibly can. And then the other half of that motion, I would have to amend my motion, is we have a chunk of money that the City Council put away. And we put that away over the course of 5 years because of the fire department pension debt and payments to that and beyond. At this time, I don't know exactly what that $2.5 million is earning. I don't know how it's divvied up. But I would ask, as a part of this motion, we direct staff to look at where that money is, what it's earning, how far out its maturity date is, as well as what the penalty would be for early withdrawal compared to what we could potentially earn. I would like for this council to consider at the beginning of this to put that $2.5 million to work for this city. I would like to put that $2.5 million in there and put it to work. Beyond that, then we as a council will adopt a policy regarding further funding this program. And there are multiple different ways to do that. There are cities that said, okay, at the end of each year, if we have a surplus, we're going to put half the surplus into this fund and the other half into a reserve so that it's capital reserves and it's liquid and easy to access. Some do it by the month, some do it by the quarter, some do lump sums based on last year. We can discuss that at length along with the finance director because she's the one who is the expert on our cash flow needs. And we wouldn't want to cripple those cash flow needs by putting a policy together without knowing exactly how it's going to impact us. So that is what I would like to do. I want the motion to reflect moving forward immediately with the business association. Now, do I need a separate motion as far as giving staff direction, or do I even need that to be a part of the motion?
You can amend your motion, and then I don't know who gave the second. I lost track of that.
The second.
You could approve that as the amended motion that you were seconding.
I would amend my motion.
And I would amend my second to that motion.
Can I make a statement?
Okay, there was a lot of direction in that motion.
Yes, it's a very lengthy motion.
Can we pull your motion to all the direction of staff? Can that be pulled out of the motion because it doesn't really need action because you can give direction? Or how would you do it? Because this one's hard on me.
Given the potential confusion, Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest is that you remove your motion or pull your motion and simply restate the motion.
Okay, I would do that. I believe you want. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to make a statement. I think it's a great idea. I think it's for the PARs and stuff because like you say, California made a lot of poor choices in investments. They try to be politically correct, but you can't invest in anything other than solar or wind energy. Things that loses money, or they had to pull out of anything that made money, like out of anything that would do with weapons and anything that's positive. Because of political correctness of it, they
turned it into a political statement instead of serious
and they lost money on
correct.
that. And like I say, my worst investment I have is making 11%. You know, and I
Doing
have
quite well.
3 other ones making a whole lot better. And what, you know, I can see, I've been arguing about this in the past, like about council. Why can't we find other things that could make more money? And that's been my point in the last, 8 years, trying to see where we can put money and make more interest and stuff, and it compounds it and everything. The only question I have, that 2.5 million, if you put that money into the account, would that only be for PARs only?
Yes.
We can't use it for anything else, so if an emergency comes up, that's saving for the PERS part of it for retirement only.
Just to clarify, if that money is in there, that money is dedicated to pension funding.
So that
okay?
2.5 million from the fireman's deal and everything would be
Okay.
dedicated.
However, knowing this, because after all, a portion of that is used for that anyway. If the city gets in a cash flow bind and they need cash from the general fund, what you do is you pay the scheduled PERS payments from PARs, and that frees up what you would have written out of the general fund to deal with the emergency.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's part of the flexibility. That's part of the benefit of it, because we do have that. And that can be done multiple times per year. There's no limit on how many times per year that can be done. It can be done for a small item, or it can be done for a large item.
I'm all for investing in that and getting returns.
Okay. Well, then let me see if I can clarify this. The first motion was actually the staff's, and that is motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving the adoption of the Public Agencies Post-Employment Benefits Trust administered by Public Agency Retirement Services, PARS." In other words, we want to establish that relationship, right?
Yes, sir.
Now then, if it won't change the motion because we're giving staff direction, then I can just leave it at that. We can make that a clean motion and a clean second, and we will vote on that motion. Thereafter, then we can give staff direction pending our next step forward. Does that make the most sense?
That makes excellent sense, Mr. Mayor.
That's what I was going to say.
It could be either one. But it could also be a future agenda request. Is the
Okay, well, as the staff direction, then we will give direction as well as ask that it be placed on the next agenda. Okay, so we have a motion, the original motion. We have the original second.
Yes, sir.
May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Noor.
Yes, and that passes on a 4-0 vote. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Now, to move forward with that, I would give staff direction that I want them, Teresa's back there, so them is Teresa. I want her to look into that 2.5 million. I want to know where it's invested, when it matures, and if it's going to be farther out than the council agrees to wait. I want to know what the penalty cost would be to withdraw it early such that we can place it in this program and start making money with it. And then I want that placed on the next agenda. Okay, is all that fair and equitable and legal?
Yes, that's fine. Mr.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, sir.
I agree totally. I understand they're going to be there at the Leah Cities event coming up next week, so I'll be making sure I'll pay those people a visit.
Excellent. All right, well, I thank you all. So, that was item number 12. Okay. Next up, item number 15. Formation of ad hoc committee to address vagrancy and homeless issues. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. At the August 21st, 2018 City Council meeting, staff was directed by council to form an ad hoc committee to address vagrancy, homeless issues that are currently being experienced within the city. City ad hoc committees are typically comprised of 2 council members, 2 planning commissioners, and city staff. Lead staff member for the committee will be the chief of police, and the city manager, planning director, and Sergeant Corey Bilby will round off the staff members serving on the committee. Staff now asks the council to select 2 council members to sit on this committee. The planning commission will meet on September 5th, 2018, and will choose their other 2 members.
All right, thank you very much, City Manager Jones. So, we have a place for 2 council members to sit on this ad hoc committee. First, I would ask for volunteers.
Volunteer.
Both Josh and I would very much like to be on this committee.
I would
There's
like
no
to
ifs,
enter,
ands, or buts about
Well,
it.
we've got a lot of volunteers here, don't we?
Well, I got Randy.
Randy would probably volunteer too.
Rotary Club would make them automatically volunteer.
Well, I'll tell you what, Councilman Cryer, if you would be in agreement, if the two of you would care to volunteer for that, I know you've spoken at length about this. Of course, we all have spoken at length about this, and we all have a vested interest in that. I would be fine with the two of you being on that. Councilman Cryer, would that be okay with you?
If that's your decision, I'll be fine.
That is not my decision. This is a decision of the city council.
I would like to be on there, but I know Renee Hill would
I
like to be on it.
believe we have to have an alternate. Did I not read that, or is that not correct?
It's not in the staff report, but an alternate would be.
It is right here.
It's the recommended motion for 2 council members and 1 alternate.
2 council members and 1 alternate. I'll tell you what then. I would be okay with the 2 of you being the council members and you being the alternate. Or if either one of you would agree to be the alternate, you can be the council member. I'll tell you what, I will back out of this one. And although this directly affects all of us, we're all in this together. Okay, we all have a vested interest in this.
I very much would like to do this since I'm the one who asked for it.
And I would second that opinion since she's the one who brought it up. And as a member
I do
of the...
remember her asking that it be placed on the agenda, okay? So it would be between the 2 of you all. So knowing that obviously the both of you want to be on that, you want to flip a coin, or what do we want to do?
At the end of the day, as a member of the citizen volunteering with the police department, I feel like I have an in-depth relationship with the police department who will be interacting most often with these folks. I've had a lot of experience in dealing with them as part of those duties, and I think I would be best suited for that.
Okay, Councilman Cryer.
Well, I've been exposed to that too, having some family members in a homeless situation and understanding the complexities in there, trying to get them off the streets and stuff and working with them. And I had one pass away because of that in a situation, and it's kind of dear to my heart. I know there's no answer to do it. I know there's not no one magic pill is going to solve all the problems and stuff. It's a very complex situation, and I feel that I'm qualified, but I don't want to get in a contest or anything.
Right
but
now, we have Mayor Pro Tem Hill has nominated Councilman Bryant.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll nominate you, but let's vote on it. First, we're going to vote on Councilman Bryant. All in favor of Councilman Bryant?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There you go. All right. All in favor of Councilman Cryer being the alternate?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
I would change my recommendation for Josh Bryant.
Okay, then it's unanimous. We have 2 council members and an alternate. I want to thank all 3 of you for your commitment to this problem, because after all, it's a big problem for all of us. And I look forward to hearing about the planning commissioners and who's going to be a part of this as well. And wish you all the very best of luck in moving this whole thing forward. All right, we have a motion. So the motion to form the ad hoc committee to address vagrancy and homeless issues is select 2 council members and 1 alternate council member to serve on the committee. Did I ever ask for the motion? Because we listened to the staff report.
I believe you stated them.
Okay. I need a motion,
A
please.
motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Nor?
Yes. Thank you all. That passed on a 4-0 vote. All right, that concludes this evening's festivities in open session. We're going to go into closed session at this time for 2 items. Item A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9B, 1 potential case. And item B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9A, Taft Union High School versus City of Taft. Good evening, everybody. We're in closed session.